While we're in London at the XL, ready for a conference we've been waiting far too long for. No, not that one, the one next door. Oceanology 2022. If you weren't there, then this is what you've missed. First stop in the itinerary was at Huntington Ingalls Industry stand to hear the commercial release of the Remus 300, a new open architecture two-man portable AUV. Dwayne Fotheringham, president of the Unmanned Systems Business Group in Huntington Ingalls Industries Technical Solutions Division, his business card's only slightly smaller than the AUV, but he said that the Remus 300 was the most advanced small class UUV on the market, and that's not without justification. It can work at 300 metres of water and has endurance for up to 30 hours, which is really amazing. Now, unsurprisingly, AUVs featured a lot at the show. There was a Teledyne vehicle at their stand, a Gavia, and another one as we came in. Argio had the Ilium that it plans to use later this year. There was a Iver 4 on the L3 Harris stand, and Terradepth, who recently bought 2 Gavias, were present. Like its Armada fleet, Ocean Infinity people were there in numbers. It's all moving so quickly there. While at the other end of the scale, Planet Ocean's seeing success with its mini EcoSub pocket AUV. And there are even more ROVs at the show, but most of them at the Blueprint stand. Video Ray showed its new vehicle called Versa Ray. It's a cross between a Defender and one of those portable workbenches. It's basically a frame that allows user to bolt on all sorts of equipment and sonars, cameras, lights, and plug them into the control system. And there's also a facility that allows sensors to be pushed through the floor of the ROV. A year ago or so, Saab CI developed a high-power electric manipulator arm, which at the time didn't have a vehicle to put it on. So when the company recently announced its first electric work-class vehicle, then it all made sense. That was there at the show for the first time. Last year, Ocean Infinity bought 10 of them for its fleet. The back screen of the Saab CI stand showed how its Sabertooth vehicles were used to discover the wreck of Shackleton's ship Endurance that's recently been all over the news. Now, near them at the show, SMD signed a contract with the services provider Rovco for a new Atom EV electric work-class ROV. This will be paired with an all-electric launch and recovery system from McCartney. Well, at the show there were loads of great stories of sonars and underwater sensors and stuff, and I'm going to write about those in the magazine, but for this video I'm going to concentrate on subsea hardware and instead make a list of 10 products that I hadn't seen pre-lockdown. So number 10, Delmar Oceanographics Instrumented Wire Walker. This is on the Planet Ocean stand and an actual model was on the RS Aqua stand. It's a profiling system where a length of wire is suspended from a small surface float while the deep end has a weight that keeps the line taut. As the float moves up and down with the waves, an internal cam on the wire walker grabs the wire when it descends and releases it when the wire ascends. Typical profiling speeds are on the order of 10 meters per minute. 9. Because of COVID, I've never actually got to see the Fusion ROV that a lot of people have been banging on about. It was on Blueprint Subsea's wall of ROVs. Nortec, Blueprint Labs, the Strategic Robot Systems recently merged to form a common holding company called General Oceans. Number 8, there it is. So what is it? Well, I've actually never seen a Seabed CPT machine. Okay, CPT, cone penetrometer tester. It pushes an instrumented cone into the seabed and then measures the ability of the saw to support the weights imposed on it. And this one has a thrust capacity of 200 kilonewtons. It's actually been around for 10 years, but when do we ever get a chance to see things like this? Speaking of CPT, the neighbours on the SUT MTS stand, Magellan, displayed their deep water ops and seabed drilling and testing capability. Number 7, gliders. Most of them are there. There was a Sea Explorer, actually I think 2, There was a Slocum on the Knox stand. Last week Teledyne announced it had set up a European glider repair hub at Southampton. And there was a Sea Glider on the HII stand, but number 7 goes to the Ocean Scout from Evering. I picked this up at the Ocean Business Show last year. It features a novel asymmetric wing And, while sometimes the battery is able to move forwards and backwards to change the balance of the vehicle, well, this one can also partially rotate. I'll explain more in our new underwater robotics magazine. Well, where else would you go? Number 6, at the show, Blueprint Subsea, who offer the Oculus imaging system, decide to offer bars of chocolate called Choculus. Take about someone. No. The real number 6 goes to Ixblue's Flippix Towfish. Been out for a couple of years, but once again, I've never seen it up till now. So this remotely operated towed vehicle platform can house side scans and magnetometers, but instead of being pulled by a surface boat, it can be attached to Ixblue's Drix uncrewed vehicle. There are 20 Drix vehicles worldwide now, and Ixblue are ramping up production to meet further demand. Big news at the show is that Eka and Ixblue have begun negotiations to combine the two French companies into a single unit, so watch out for that. Number 5, Saildrone. I'd never actually seen a Saildrone up close until this week. Before the show, Saildrone put out a statement that they were very excited to operationalise their new Voyager fleet with Delmar. Isn't operationalise such an underrated word? Delmar signed a contract to globally deploy and operate 10 Saildrone Voyager uncrewed surface vessels. They'll be operationalised from a remote operationalisation centres in Glasgow, San Francisco, St. Petersburg, Florida, and Singapore. Number 4. I was going to give this to McCartney for its subsea profiling which once again is not new, but when do you ever see these things? But on the other side of the stand was the Focus 3 ROTV. ROTV again. And they talked about work they've been doing with Washington University's APL. They essentially stuck an EdgeTech sonar on the vehicle and found the results were pretty amazing. Not sure if you can see this, but the top window is the plan, the bottom's the elevation. To the left, there's a compass. You can see it doesn't move because the platform's so stable. In fact, this thing only works because the Focus 3 is such a stable platform. So you can see it passing a sunken vessel, and by some pretty amazing imaging, you can even see the staircase in the vessel. And they say that this system could provide a very cheap way to detect unexploded ordnance, and it's even possible to hit the targets with sound to see if they resonate. Number 3, I was walking across the floor and I saw a crowd of people, so I went to see what they were looking at. I turned the corner and saw this. I thought Peter Crouch had died or something, but it turned out to be the unveiling of a new AUV called the Hugin Edge. Now, the interesting thing about this is that most AUVs are cylindrical or radially symmetrical anyway, whereas this is certainly flattened. The closest analogy I can think of is the front of a Formula 1 racing car, but it does have that edge. Apparently it got its shape from work that Kongsberg were doing on missiles, but the form proved very hydrodynamic, and Kongsberg may use this shape in future for all its vehicles. Anyway, Hugin Edge designed for more than 24 hours operation at depths of up to 1,000 metres. Number 2, check this out on the Trelleborg stand. So what is it? Flour in a jar, shake it up, and it's like a snow globe. So there's water in there, but no, actually the medium inside is air. So what is the white powder? Well, the material inside are nanospheres or ecospheres, small glass spheres. So to develop flotation systems, companies use hollow glass spheres held together by a matrix. In large spheres, matrix, cheaper but less buoyant. But in applications where buoyancy needs to be highly efficient and resilient, such as very deep water vehicles, only the smallest glass spheres can be used, something like 55 microns in diameter. Now, these are recently used in the deep submergence vehicle limiting factor, the human-occupied vessel that set the record for diving to 10,928 metre water depths. Shout out to Deep Sea Power and Light, whose Apex and Optim 4K cameras were used to film in the Challenger Deep, and Technodyne, who were charged with developing the thrusters to operationalise in full ocean depths and beyond. Leading on from that, number 1, the Marine Technology Society and the Society for Underwater Technology awarded Victor Vescovo and Patrick Leahy the Captain Don Walsh Award for Ocean Exploration, presented by Don Walsh himself. In the 1960s, with co-pilot Jack Pickard, Walsh was aboard the bathyscaphe Trieste when it made the record descent into the deepest point on the world's oceans. Actually, Don Walsh presented a paper at the very first Oceanology conference back in 1969. Victor Vescovo has been to the deepest parts of the ocean floor around 20 times. More about this in you know where. That's about it. So, more information on subsea engineering, read UT2 and Under Robotics, the magazines of the SUT and the MTS.